unconventional paths to success, the unmakers, successful leaders involved in disruptive business models. So you hear a lot about entrepreneurs being mentioned today. Of course, we are going to have some of these amazing entrepreneurs here on the stage. And first off, I would like to ask Mr. Nirmal Jain. He's the founder and chairman of India Infoline. I believe he's here. Mr. Jain, are you here? He's just about entering. He's about to get through the doors. Fantastic. Great. Mr. Nirmal Jain, founder and chairman of India Infoline, first generation entrepreneur who's credited with building one of the largest financial services companies in India in just about a decade. And next up we have Mr. or rather Miss Nirmala Sankaran. She's co-founder and MD of Hey Math, which is a very innovative digital mathematics program developed since 2000 in collaboration with the University of Cambridge. And we also have Mr. Sanjeev Bichandani. He's the founder and executive chairman of InfoEdge India and the co-founder of Naukri.com, which is India's leading job site. And finally, Mr. Raj Srinivastava, the chair and provost, as well as deputy president of academic affairs of SMU, the leading authority on the impact of marketing on business performance. Have a wonderful session.
Okay, so I guess we're live, and it's a little rough following Nitin Gupta. It's also a little rough following lunch. And the title of our session is really focusing on disruption and unmaking, whatever that may be. And I think all of us have been involved in making things. I don't know if we've unmade anything. But I was also looking for an additional theme to disruptive innovation. And that theme appears to be related to education. Education, information, even if it means education of investors. And I'd like to just make a couple of comments before we get started. We often have the habit of confusing innovation with invention. And when we look at innovation, it's really finding ways, not necessarily for doing new things, it's looking for ways to doing them a lot better. And hopefully we can do things better by orders of magnitude. And the members of my panel have indeed been involved in doing that. And so if we look at disruptive innovations, it means we're doing things better. Better could be in terms of, are we doing them more efficiently? Are we doing them more effectively? Are we doing them so they have better outcomes? And if indeed we are doing things better, it will also turn out that either people will copy what we're doing, and we will see some degree of imitation in the marketplace as an outcome. Another impact is going to be that we will cause a disruption, we will cause some level of dislocation and shift in demand within the marketplace. So one of the things I would like for all of us on the panel to address is really what are we doing? What are the right things that we're doing? How are we doing them? So meaning, how are we doing them right? What is the outcome? What are some of the outcomes of what we've been involved in? And the fourth element would be, what are some of the challenges that we face as we look to the future? And I'd like to borrow a phrase from yesterday's panel, which is not necessarily best practices in what we're doing, but what is on your mind in terms of next practices. So Nirmala, if we could start with you. Yes, we should. I think that way people will have a bit of an idea. Yeah. Oops. I think we'll start with Nirmala.
Can I not have the slide actually? Okay, so this is actually quite stressful standing here talking about mathematics, particularly one table right in front of me My classmates from IIM Bangalore, they know precisely what grades I had in OR, probability and statistics. So it is very, very scary to stand here saying that I'm trying to improve the quality of the teaching of mathematics. When Shesh called me up in February earlier this year and talked about IIM Impact Frontiers, and he asked if I would like to participate in it, I told him that there was no way I was going to give this a pass. And the reason for that is Singapore is a very special place for us at HeyMath. This is the first country that has adopted our program way back in 2001. And I recall with a lot of excitement when we got a call from Raffles Institution after several meetings that we had in the year 2000 with them. They eventually called us back and said, okay, I think we have made the decision to implement HeyMath for all our secondary students. And they were also the first school to cut a check. And that for us was a fantastic validation of our value proposition and the product itself. And as you know, Raffles Institution admits the top 3 percentile of Singaporean kids. And that to us meant a lot, that they felt that what we had demonstrated to them as our prototype was in fact going to add value to their kids. What I would like to share with you in the next 7 minutes is a collection of my thoughts and influences that I've had over the years, and also a series of accidents that have perhaps led me to stumble into entrepreneurship. Let me begin with telling you a little bit about my background and my childhood. I am a Tam Bram. Many of you would, in the audience, would be Tam Brams here as well. And I'd like to begin by showing you some of the traits of a median member of the Tam Bram species. Can I have this slide, please? So, the next slide. So most Tam Brams, I think, would agree that this is who we are. So there is a pressure to get a centum in mathematics, and most Tam Brams also have a deep suspicion of anything to do with business. And my father was in the Customs and Central Excise Service, and I can tell you that made things much worse for me. He was, day in and day out dealing with, people who are totally untrustworthy as far as business goes. Sorry, I'll just get the click. But the good thing was that we grew up in Delhi, which provided a lot of counter influences to this curse of the Tam Bram. And lots of exposure to the can-do, chak-de spirit of the North Indian. Motibagh was where we grew up, and this is a very unique neighborhood. It had some of the most brilliant minds and highest achievers you can think of packed in one neighborhood. And here I'm talking about Raghuram Rajan, Montek Singh Aluwalia, Mani Shankar Iyer, Margaret Alva, Vikram Chandra. You can imagine the pressure on Arvind and me. My brother Arvind is sitting there. You can imagine the pressure that the parents put on us and held us to the highest standards. Anyway, my first venture was not HeyMath. My first venture actually began in Silicon Valley style in a garage in Motibagh when I was 14 years old. Those days, one could not afford to buy too many storybooks, and so you typically borrowed from friends. But then you were limited by only the number of friends you had. So the two of us got together, two 14-year-olds who, were up to no good most of the time. So we got together and we said, why don't we go to all these 200 houses in Motibagh and, get these neighborhoods to donate books. So that's what we did. We went, how door to door, we made our elevator pitch about why they should contribute to this cause. And then after having done that, we identified the venue for the library. It was another friend's garage. This was an IAS officer who didn't believe in owning a car. He used to walk 5 kilometers each way to Rashtrapati Bhavan. And the garage was always locked. So we said, let's just use it. He's never going to know. So my first venture was also in the knowledge economy, and we used crowdsourcing. We collected 500 books actually. We did a pretty good job. And we had all elaborate processes and, pricing grid, and we did a lot of intensive foot-to-foot selling. The venture lasted for 2 months, and all hell broke loose when Mr. D'Souza came back one day early from work and he found that the garage was open. And we had no clue what to do because he used to come every day at a particular time and we used to quickly lock it and run away. But that one day he came back early. And that was the end of the venture because he was one of those upright officers who said, "How dare you use a government perk for a commercial venture?" Anyway, that was the end of the venture. We made 500 rupees and we paid a heavy penalty. And thank God I didn't lose a friend though, which was his daughter. Fast forward to 1988. After I graduated from IIM Bangalore, I was in Citibank for the next 12 years. There are lots of familiar faces out here, ex-bosses sitting right in front of me. And Citibank was the place to be in the late 80s and early 90s. It was dynamic, entrepreneurial, cutting edge on innovation, and a fantastic peer group to work with. Those were my most exciting years in my career with Citibank. And living in Bombay and leading that kind of life, we continued to feel like we were part of IIM, and this collegiate behavior continued. But the bank offered tremendous challenges, and I can never forget those first 5 years in Bombay. Unfortunately, this was not always the case outside of India. In fact, my last assignment in London with Citibank was quite frustrating. There were constant reorgs in the bank, no will to make decisions, a lot of internal focus, no new ideas, and basically a fundamental disconnect from customers and reality. I felt that I was really wasting my time, and there's only so much motivation that you can get from going to the gym. What do you do with the rest of the energy? So when this kind of mood continues for a few days or few months on end, where you don't have the motivation to wake up and take the British Rail from North Dalit Station to Cottons, then you know the writing is on the wall. So I actually want to thank Citibank for pushing me and goading me to get the hell out of the bank. And for pushing me to making this life-changing decision. But like Sanjeev said yesterday, it was actually very difficult to actually pull the trigger, even though I made the decision 6 months before I quit, because that was the time to research on what was the idea that one would work on. But it was actually quite difficult to quit. And it wasn't as if, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think that's a whole lot of bullshit that a lot of entrepreneurs would say, that I always knew I wanted to do this. I had no clue. I couldn't even visualize what the word meant or what life was going to be after that. So the only way to figure that out was to go to Victoria Falls and to do the bungee jump. And I think that was really the right thing I did, because it was like doing a Control-Alt-Delete on the brain and to, declutter all the mess that had been accumulated over the years. So coming to the genesis of HeyMath, this was in the year 1999-2000, and the idea was triggered by three things happening at the time. One was the dot-com boom, the explosion of the internet, and the emergence of India as a brand in IT. So me and my co-founder were in search of a large problem that could be solved using the internet, using technology, and using India as the base. After much research, the problem that grabbed our attention was a huge shortage of mathematics teachers globally, and an acute shortage of high-quality maths teachers. Associated with that was the high failure rate among students. This is a slide put together by McKinsey, which shows that if you take two children performing at the same level, same percentile at age 8, you put one child with a high-performing teacher and the other one with a lousy teacher. At the end of 3 years, so when both the children are 11 years old, there's a staggering difference of 53 percentile points in their performance. So this is the damage that a bad teacher can do. And when it comes to mathematics, that's all it takes to build the fear and phobia for mathematics. So we set about looking for a solution to this problem, and we thought the lowest hanging fruit will be to go B2C. Because that time, a lot of hype was around the BPO and using India as the back office and things like that. So our first product was actually a B2C one. It was an internet-based helpline for students. And this was in 2000, 2001. It was quite exciting to put this, the technology together and to hire the tutors, train them, and to pilot the product with students. It actually worked quite well, and it was a fantastic learning experience. But within 18 months, it was very clear that this is something that would not scale, definitely not scale with quality. So we went back to the drawing board and decided to attack the problem in a more systemic way. And we shifted our focus to schools and school systems, and we said, let us attack the problem of the quality of the teacher, because it is very clear that the outcomes in an education system are directly related to the quality of the teacher. There's no big magic about this. So we thought that the best way to build a scalable product would be to build a digital curriculum, which could then be customized and adapted as we went along into different markets. And our mission that we defined was supporting the work of teachers. And that is the mission that stands still today. It is 13 years on now, and we still stand in front of all government systems and all school systems and say that our mission is to support the work of your teachers and to be an assistant to them to make a C or a B+ teacher become A+ eventually, because we're not going to find new teachers entering the profession that easily. So we make do with whoever's there, but we make from not so good to good, good to great, and great to super great. So let me talk about a few challenges along the way. The number one was to establish early legitimacy and pedigree, because we were going to do something in education. So two bankers from Citibank, obviously, no one's going to buy anything from you if you're talking about education. So we knew we had to establish legitimacy. And so we knocked on the doors of Cambridge University, which is the mecca for mathematics. And we went there and proposed a collaboration to them. They had been running a helpline for many years. They've been really far-thinking in their use of internet for education. So we felt that there was a good way to commercialize what they were doing, and also in the process, learn a lot from them. It took a lot of meetings, lots of homework, in fact, literally homework, maths homework, to go and face the questions that we were going to be asked, and many road trips from London to Cambridge to eventually convince them that we were sincere about the purpose that we were talking about. On many of those trips, I recall, I couldn't come back home to London, and my 4-year-old daughter used to be in school playing, and I used to call the principal and say, can you please just take her back home, because I won't be back till 6 o'clock. So the principal has played a big role in providing childcare, which was really difficult, because sometimes from Cambridge back to London, we used to get caught in traffic and things like that. Anyway, the next challenge was to build the curriculum itself and the subject matter expertise in mathematics. That was when I decided to relocate back to India, because that work had to be done in the trenches. So I would really, invite some of you all to come and see our center in Chennai. You would probably find there are at least thousands and thousands of mathematics textbooks, because we have a footprint in several different countries around the world now. So we keep learning about curricula in different countries, and this is something which, this in the trenches is never going to go away. That is the bread and butter of our value proposition today. We assembled a team in India and came out with a prototype of a curriculum. Once the prototype was ready, the next challenge was to zoom in on the right market. So we needed to find a market which would value and embrace this product and also pay for it. All roads pointed to Singapore. The Ministry of Education in this country has a very far-sighted and extraordinary vision for education, particularly in maths and science. And this reflects in their enviable track record in international benchmarking tests. We have now been partnering with MOE schools for the last 12 years, and this has given us a lot of credibility in other markets and has also pushed us towards the highest level of quality. Singapore is and always will be our innovation hub. In fact, this aspect was picked up by Tom Friedman, and he featured Heymath as an example of globalization in education in his book, The World is Flat. The Singapore experience energized us to expand to other geographies, and we now work in India, South Africa, the United States, Alaska, and more recently in Latin America. I want to quickly show you a very short video about a high-performing school district in Westport, Connecticut. This school district, as you can imagine, it's based in Westport, Connecticut, so the demographics are all mostly Asian Jewish kids, already very high-performing district. We have helped them get rid of textbooks since 2007. They do not have a math textbook. Everything is done through the HeyMath program. HeyMath is the dynamic, living, breathing textbook. And 5 years on, this school district has outperformed every single school district in the state of Connecticut. Can I have the video, please?
In 12 on Schools, test scores show that American students lag behind in math when compared to Eastern countries. So one district in southwestern Connecticut has paired up with a company from India to advance its math curriculum. Our education reporter Erica Zaki is here to explain.
Well, Becky, Westport is one of only a few districts in the nation using a program called HeyMath. The concept of math is still the same, but how it's taught is completely different.
Say goodbye to textbooks.
There's no book that covers math the way that we do.
And say hello to a program called HeyMath.
This is Quadrant 1.
This is the new approach to teaching math at Coleytown Middle School.
Our curriculum actually is hosted, it lives on servers in Singapore, and it's managed by this company, HeyMath.
The biggest change that I see is that the kids are much more engaged this year. Very good.
Simply put, HeyMath is a computer program. Westport comes up with the curriculum. HeyMath creates the games and lesson plans.
You can graph your own pictures at home.
I think it's easier for us to learn because she shows us instead of tells us.
I'm having a little trouble with dividing integers, and I know I went on HeyMath and there was a game and a lesson, and that really helped, and it made it interesting at the same time.
You're just doing some basic.
And here's some simple math. The cost, we're told HeyMath costs $10.50 a student, while a typical math textbook costs around $160. So Westport officials say this is saving the district a lot of money.
Thank you. Today we work with about 1,000 schools, 5,000 teachers use the program worldwide. We have users in 55 countries, and 500,000 kids have been impacted by the program. It has been a huge learning for us in the last 13 years that it takes a long, long time to establish credibility in education, to create systemic change, because you need to establish trust and quality in the product. And it's a relationships-based business. So there are simply no shortcuts in this business. So I guess this curve shows it all. It has taken us many, many years of slogging for the J-curve to kick in. I want to talk, now that I've talked about the challenges, let me talk about some of our secret sauce at HeyMath. I believe that our secret sauce really is in our organizational culture and the talent pool that we have built and sustained over the last 13 years. The culture at HeyMath is very collegiate. It's non-hierarchical, highly diverse. The youngest team member would be 20, the oldest would be about 78. Very multicultural, and one of intensive collaboration, both within the team and with our customers. And more importantly, our attrition rate is very, very low. People just simply don't leave us. And I think that's because they are connected to the mission of the company, and also there's a very strong shared sense of purpose in the organization. I just want to show you an example of this. I have to apologize for people who do not understand Tamil, but this is a jingle created by our team at HeyMath. The lyrics have been written by the team, the music, the composition is by the team, and the voice artists are also from the HeyMath team. Video, please.
because every student counts.
So this was what we picked up, one of the lines over there, we picked up from one of our implementations in Delhi with the government schools, where when we met the principal and we said, so what do you think about HeyMath? He said, aapne to ghabrahat se utsaah mein badal diya, mathematics ko. And then he says, now the slogan in their school is, ab darna mana hai. So we thought we'll incorporate that in our song. Anyway, I want to end my talk in just one more minute. And the last bit of what I want to talk about is actually what I'm most passionate about and something that I strongly believe in. I think it's an idea whose time has come. And women, and particularly mothers, I think are intrinsically entrepreneurial. Why? So the sheer brunt of bringing up a child and child rearing is a fantastic training ground to run a venture. So day in and day out, you're dealing with 20,000 feet issues and ground level issues. So in the same breath, you think about what higher level electives should my 10th grader take, and at the same time, you're stressing about where do I get the Mother Teresa outfit for the term end show for my 5th grader. So you're constantly in a problem-solving mode. And I think your mind gets geared to making use of all possible resources you have on hand and completely taking advantage of the ecosystem that you're constantly building on the fly, from the neighbor to the driver to the grandfather to anybody who's able to solve the problem that you have to at that point in time. And there's a huge amount of fluidity that comes with the territory of being a mother. And that flexible mindset, allows you to create plan B, plan C, plan D, because you have no choice. You have to keep going on. And you have an obsessive sense of purpose about the child. And that is what entrepreneurship is about too. It is this obsessive sense of purpose. And there's no time to, fret about things or to be disappointed. You just have to keep moving on. And both situations, bringing up a child as well as running a venture, you are in a permanent beta state. The product is never complete, so you're constantly iterating. And lastly, both disrupt your life, but in a good way. Thank you.